submission for MMAnews.com. I'm Ed Carbazel, here to talk about we had a crazy string of events over between Thursday and Saturday night. Obviously, Brian Ortega versus Korean Zombie main evented for the UFC Fight Island, hashtag UFC Fight Island number 6, and Bellator 249 on Thursday night. Ed Carbazel, MMAnews.com. If you're not following our content and interviews over there, please make sure you like and subscribe to the MMAnews.com YouTube channel, and you'll get content like this and all the interviews that myself, James Lynch, and the team over at MMAnews.com do. So let's get into it, shall we? We'll work backwards from the weekend, from Saturday to UFC Fight Island to Bellator 249 that was on Thursday night, since we're doing this on Sunday. First of all, my apologies. I know I do this a little earlier. I usually do it around brunch time on Sundays, but I was out last night. I had to catch up on the UFC card because I was out on Saturday. There was celebrating a very special someone's birthday. So a little hungover, and well, that's that. But doesn't mean that the fights get skipped or anything like that, especially in the Carbazel household. So let's get started. First of all, results are up over at MMAnews.com. If you did miss the event and you just want to know who won, we always do a good job of giving some pretty good details of each fight. And, then there's your quick results, as always, like everyone else does, if you just need to know who won with scoring and such. One of the things that stood out to me, obviously, as I was watching fights of note to me that I was interested in. I watched Andrade versus Chukagian. Being a Northeastern MMA fan, I was rooting for Caitlin to win, but the body shot that Andrade landed, body shots are hard to ignore if you're unfamiliar with body shots. Once they land them, they pretty much put you out for a while. Especially if anyone that's been a longtime fan of MMA knows about Bas Rutten and his love for the liver shot. So, that shot was definitely one that it looked more solar plexus when you look, because she holds her midsection when it lands. But either way, that's the difference between getting knocked out in the head versus a body shot. The body shot it's painful. You feel it, and it'll distract you. Get hit in the head, you're just going to get knocked out. By the way, if you didn't notice, I'm using a new mic. I got this on Prime Day. So what do they call it? Lavalier mic. So any folks watching this live want to comment on the audio and give me some feedback, I'd appreciate it. I know I will get it from the producer of this video, Sunday Submission. So I gave him a heads up that I'm testing a new mic, but I tested it out before, and I'm using it today. So it sounded good, but it's really up to the folks that run this to let me know if they really like it or not. Otherwise, I also have the new replacement headset, and that'll come back next week if it's not well received, or if this doesn't sound as good as I hope it does. It sounds good here. So anyway, Jimmy Crute, the quick knockout that he knocked out Modestas Bukauskas with, that was definitely highlight worthy. I know the first fight of the night with Said Nurmagomedov, when he knocked out Mark Striegel. I apologize if I'm messing up Mark's name, but that was definitely a nice way to start off the night. But you had 7 fights that went by decision, but that doesn't mean, anyone that's read my stuff or listened to the podcast that I do, this one, Coast to Coast Combat Hour, I always kind of say, like, I'm a fan of finishers and stuff like that, even when I write some prediction pieces and what have you. But that fight, when fights wind up the way Ortega and Chan Sung Jung, Korean Zombie, go against each other, the that's entertaining. Like there's nothing bad you can say about it. I feel like if we're going to talk about that fight, I feel like what's his name? Well, how did I forget his name? I should have put it in my notes. The spinning elbow that in the second round that Ortega dropped Korean Zombie with was reminiscent of El Pantera. I can't remember his name for the life of me. Again, hungover edition. But anyway, so I'm wondering if there was something that, I mean, they asked him in the post-fight press conference, but he never really said that it was something that they worked on. The when media asked Brian Ortega if him and his team worked, because he's talked about how he's got a new team, and I'm assuming it's just not. He just added to. I mean, I don't know the drama behind, or if there was any drama behind his team change, but making the change to I guess a more MMA centric and less jiu-jitsu in his training is what we saw. And I mean, great striking, great hands, and I'm wondering if they didn't mention it, no one asked, but I'm wondering if they studied that fight between Zombie and I'm calling him by his fighter name, Pantera, El Pantera. But why can't I remember his name? Probably because he doesn't fight that much. But that he got dropped he dropped Zombie with a spinning back elbow that kind of went over the back, and Ortega kind of did a more linear one, but it still landed and it still dropped him. So I'm wondering if that's something they saw. I mean, it could just be a guy that comes forward the way that Jung does. It does kind of leave you open for things like that, because the attacker is going to be coming at you. So I guess which is weird because he's got really great takedown defense, something that Ortega talked about in the post-fight presser. So I feel like I don't know. I just feel like that was definitely something he might have studied. I wish someone had asked him. I mean, I don't got Abu Dhabi monies to go fly to Fight Island to ask myself, but hopefully a question like that comes in anything we see this week after the fight. Although with UFC 254 coming up, we're probably not going to see a lot of past fight talk. It's going to be more looking towards the future. And one thing about the future. Excuse me, got to get my coffee in. One thing about the future after the UFC event is now the talk of him fighting Alexander Volkanovski comes up. Max Holloway rematch comes up. Both questions were asked. We all know Brian Ortega is not a trash talker. He's not going to look to call anyone out or whatever. But I mean, he definitely wants both fights as a competitor. I feel like because of the logistics behind everything going on with COVID-19 and the way fights have been put together this year, it's gonna boil down to who is healthy, ready, and available that we can get these two competitors in the cage, whether it be Abu Dhabi or Vegas, because it looks like those are the only two places the UFC and Dana White are focused on, because that's what's working right now. And I want to make a quick comment on that, because with all the Twitter back and forth and social media negotiations, you have both Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor agreeing to their fight. I think January 23rd is the date. And, they want to, I think McGregor wants to do it in Texas, but Dana White kind of said, was like 2 days ago after the face-offs, or was it after the weigh-ins? I'm trying to remember. Either way, it was just before this past event where Dana White addressed the media, and he's on the page because of. I mean, if you look back, I don't blame him for this either. How he says he's not entertaining. He doesn't want to do anything in a place that he can't fill with fans. He doesn't want to do the 10%. quarter capacity or whatever. And I know it's I mean, he'd like to sell out an arena. If they're going to be in an arena, it makes sense to sell out an arena. But there's also most likely a business side to it too. Like, why do you want to pay arena prices? Because the business behind this, it's probably cheaper for them to do what they're doing in their own in-house with the Apex in Vegas and what they got going on, and Dana White's been in business with the folks at Abu Dhabi longer than you folks have heard about Fight Island. So it makes sense for him to stick to what they're doing, especially if they're making money doing what they've been doing. And it protects fans from everything going on with COVID that we know about, as far as we know, with the social distancing, and you don't have to worry about people and the mask wearing, or who wants to wear one, who doesn't want to wear one. That's separate. That you can watch Joe Rogan's podcast or whoever stuff for that, and if you want to get into all that stuff. But it looks like with both fighters publicly agreeing, they're just waiting on contracts to be signed, which was maybe that's what they said on Thursdays. And it's weird because Dana White was doing almost every press conference after fights, and the last few he really hasn't done. So again, just talking, looking ahead about fights to look forward to with everything going on. Obviously, the pay-per-view for this month is UFC 254, so I'm sure he'll be addressing the media after that one, because that's a big deal. And PSA disclaimer for folks that don't know yet, because I'm saying it to my training partners. I said it to the thing I was out with last night. UFC 254 will not, if you are on the East Coast, especially Eastern Standard Time, it is in the daytime. I think the first fight is at 11 a.m. and the main pay-per-view portion is probably going to start around 2 p.m. So if you're making your little fight party plans, socially distanced, small groups, or whatever you're going to do, it's early. Don't have people coming over at night, because then you'll be talking about the fight that you missed because you thought it was, with the time difference and stuff. They did it actually when Khabib fought Dustin Poirier. What was that? UFC 2. This is 254. I want to say 249. Maybe it was. I forget the number, but you know what I'm talking about. One of the few times that they actually did do a pay-per-view early in the day, and I'm not gonna lie, as an East Coast person, I love it. I mean, I'm gonna miss my own training for it because I have to watch it for my 7 takeaways piece that I do for here at MMAnews.com. But I'm all in on a nice early card. Everything will be done before the sun sets for me. Post-fight press conference and everything. And I'll probably have my 7 takeaways piece published by Saturday night. Then I can go out and get ripped again. All right. But that's that. So the UFC, there's a lot of fights to make with the winners that they have, I think, as we move forward, though. Because the thing about Ortega versus, so he's coming off his win, so he's the hot topic right now. The thing about Ortega versus who he fights next, I really do think it's going to be more, whether it's the fight with Volkanovski for the title or it's the rematch with Holloway. It's going to depend more on who they can get to. Ortega's on the West Coast, so if they try to do something in the Apex, I feel like the Holloway rematch is more likely than the Volkanovski fight. But if they can get if they put all the international fighters from overseas, that's the whole purpose of Fight Island. Ortega said he's got no problem coming back. He actually prefers fighting at the time. He's a night owl, so for him to fight in the Abu Dhabi local time works out better for him, and I think we saw that last night. So that's enough about UFC Fight Island 6, or what are they calling it? UFC on ESPN. Let's see, we got it up here at MMAnews.com. UFC on ESPN Plus, number 38. It's so ridiculous, the naming of these events. I can't even. So, and then before that, I mean, there was a lot. So if you watch the sport like I do, there was great LFA event. LFA 93 was Friday night. a really nasty knockout in that event. I can't think of the fighter's name, but but we don't really cover LFA here at MMAnews.com. So Bellator 249. You saw I had the interview with the title challenger on this YouTube channel, Arlene Blanco. If you haven't checked it out, thank you, by the way, for folks that did check it out. It's up there. She didn't, she lost second round submission. And, so obviously it's weird because Cyborg's been fighting for so long. Folks are already kind of like at that thing, like it's almost like they're expecting her to lose, but when she wins the way that she's winning, it's obvious that there's a lot to take away from. I'm just bringing up the results so I can get some highlights and stuff in there for you. But one of the things that's here we go. Results up at MMAnews.com. Show you what I'm looking at. And so the fights, the Pitbull versus Willis fight actually didn't happen. They pulled that last minute, and it's good for me to pull up because I want to bring up. Well, what's going on here? It's the browser I'm using. Sorry, the Brave browser, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get that off screen. Bellator return to Mohegan Sun. That's their fight sphere. That is their fight bubble here in the States, where they're going to be holding events through the end of the year. I wrote about that on MMAnews.com when they contract, because they're sharing that space with CBS. Viacom CBS is the company that owns Bellator and Showtime Boxing, so they're sharing that space with Bellator and boxing events. So they have that space until the end of the year, and the featherweight Grand Prix is going to finish off there. They announced that during the event, but the whole reason I'm bringing up boxing and the partnership with the Bellator 249 is because, again, everyone's asking what's next for Cyborg, right? Like they want to know, who she's fighting next, or next title defense. People have a lot of opinions and things to say about the quality of opponents and stuff like that, or if she does a super fight in boxing. Katie Taylor's name keeps coming up as a boxing match, to a media member at the post-event press conference for Bellator called it the equivalent of the female equivalent of Mayweather versus McGregor, which I think would be cool to see, especially for it's something that Chris Cyborg seems to want. And in the post-fight press conference, Scott Coker had mentioned that there's a lot of interest coming from boxing promoters to put on something as an exhibition or what have you on the level of Mayweather and McGregor, featuring Chris Cyborg versus, whomever notable name in boxing in the weight class that she competes at. The thing of it is Katie Taylor is under Matchroom, which Eddie Hearn and, the partnership with DAZN, which I'm going to talk about in a bit, the whole DAZN thing. It's my opinion, by the way, on the DAZN thing, is that DAZN never was invested in mixed martial arts and doesn't care about mixed martial arts. I've said that a lot on my own podcast, so I'm repeating it here, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating it, for the more than once here as well. But the whole reason I'm bringing it up, because I know the thing with DAZN, Scott Coker had wanted to do stuff with Matchroom, mixing boxing, and if you watched your Dynamite, there's Bellator kickboxing too, mixing, kind of like making a combat sports featured event that they could have featured on that platform. It doesn't look like they're interested in mixed martial arts at all, because if you look at their social, most of their social is about boxing. So it's going to be about boxing, and that's not a fault of Eddie Hearn, because Eddie Hearn's a fan of mixed martial arts. He's really big fan of Dana White's, and Dana White's been on the Hearn and Ballou podcast. So I really don't think it's anything with the promoters. I just think it's the TV deal. And the thing about, they asked Bellator's future with DAZN, and it looks like they're waiting for DAZN to say something, or for the contract to run out before we really start seeing what the possibilities are with CBS, Showtime, and Bellator featuring their events. And I'm saying all that to say that because of the boxing connection under the Showtime banner and CBS, I feel like the likelihood of seeing the Cyborg boxing super fight is there. And whether it be with Katie Taylor or another notable female opponent in boxing, it would be something to see. Scott, I actually wrote an article about Scott Coker's caveat to any deal that might, make it not happen, is because, I thought it was great that Coker said this at the post-fight press conference. The thing that fans that didn't get out of the Mayweather-McGregor thing is that Mayweather never came back to the MMA side. You know what I mean? Like, of course, and listen, this is, if I go to play Michael Jordan in an exhibition basketball game 1-on-1 at both of our advanced ages, bad knees and all, who do you think is going to win? It's going to be Michael Jordan, right? And then if Michael Jordan comes to like a submission only competition, an old man's submission only competition, me versus Michael Jordan, I'm probably going to win that, because that's my world. Basketball is his world. So these super fights, they don't really make sense to me, because I mean, boxing is part of MMA, but it's one of the many parts, So when you have somebody that focuses on the sweet science all their lives, the way Mayweather, Katie Taylor, it's something that it's gonna make I think people tune in for the what if factor. So the what if is what makes those events sell out and get a bunch of eyeballs on them. But anyway, I'm straying away from Bellator 249. I mean, congratulations to Chris Cyborg for defending her title. Felt bad because I actually thought Blanco could pull it off, but the size disparity, I don't want to say size, like it just seemed like she was more powerful in her striking, and I really didn't notice the reach advantage that they had during the face-offs when they were standing next to each other at weigh-ins. It wasn't until the fight that I noticed that Cyborg definitely seemed to have a striking advantage and a reach advantage when they were exchanging. And I know Blanco didn't want to retreat from her. She wanted to come at her, and the way kind of like how Amanda Nunes did. But the plans are always sound until you're actually put them to the test. And unfortunately, there was no pre-fight to the actual fight. You just have the one fight. So I thought Blanco's, she tried to do her plan, but you don't know how hard Cyborg hits until she actually hits you. And not that I've been hit by her, but you know what I mean. Like, that was Blanco's plan, was likely like, okay, I didn't know she was this powerful. And yeah, pretty dominant. I mean, I know she's got the loss to Amanda Nunes, and that's one thing that kept coming up. I noticed a lot of folks, even Coker even said it, like that. Coker said it. Blanco said it before the fight. The rematch would have been nice to see, because Cyborg seemed to make a mistake in that fight as far as maybe feeling like she had some sort of mental advantage, as far as maybe having Nunes overly concerned or whatever. And she didn't seem like the Cyborg that we've been used to seeing all these years. We saw that on Thursday. So it sucks that we're not going to see that rematch. And they brought it up to Coker, and Coker said the only way that's going to happen on our end is if somehow Nunes becomes a free agent and she comes, we'll be on the phone with her and try to get her over here to make that fight happen, because that's definitely a fight a lot of folks want to see. To me, I don't know. I mean, I think she's 34, so she's still got time to defend that title a few times and throw in the boxing match. So for me, that's definitely one to watch. And I'm that relationship between Scott Coker and Cyborg, goes back to Strikeforce and stuff when she was fighting there. And if you remember the the growth and the depth of how many people watched Cyborg when she beat Gina Carano. That was such a major event. I literally remember where I was when I watched it. I was actually with the person that people I was celebrating the birthday thing with yesterday, watching it on Showtime when that aired, and that was a huge event, made huge buzz. So that's definitely a better partnership for her, and I think for the future of her career. But Bellator 249, the card kind of fell apart last minute. They lost the Pitbull Willis co-main. Was that the co-main event? I think that was a co-main event. And then Leandro Higo, they bumped him up. But there was some illness that he wanted to fight still, because fighter, like we've heard it all weekend. I've heard the phrase "fighters want to fight," but he was pulled from the card. The commission pulled him from the card for I don't think it was COVID related. I think it was more that he just didn't seem, maybe a bad weight cut or something like that. And then you got the submission highlight. I wanted to show it to you, but it looks like the page is all messed up on this browser I got here. The highlights from Cyborg's choke. But it's all over. I mean, these are just embedded from Twitter anyway, CBS Sports and Bellator MMA's social media. The submission finish from Chris Cyborg, the nasty submission that Aviv Ghazali got in the prelims. There's a ton of prelims fight on the Bellator's YouTube channel too, which I'm loving that they're putting a lot of fights on there, because the broadcast window. The reason I love it is because, like, when it happens on ESPN with UFC, they make you go. You need an app or an ESPN News app or some ESPN channel you probably don't have to watch it, the fights, while football or baseball or whatever is carrying over. But Bellator has been great about putting the bulk of the recently too. I don't know if it's due to the pandemic or because of the zone deal, but putting stuff on a lot of stuff on YouTube, a lot of great fights on YouTube. So that Aviv Ghazali's submission win was on the YouTube prelims. Steve Mary's knockout. I mean, that Steve Mary's a heavyweight. He's usually, when they're at Mohegan Sun, which they're going to be at for a while, they get him on the cards, and he obviously escaped that fight unscathed with the huge knockout that he got. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him again on one of their future cards before the end of the year, as long as they're at the Mohegan Sun location. So that's definitely a heavyweight that needs to get bumped up to the main card. And this is I only got a few minutes left, so I'm going to speculate something or try to matchmake. All Elite Wrestling is still doing stuff in Florida in their own bubble, and Jake Hager is a Bellator fighter. They're cool with letting him do both, and he hasn't fought since before the pandemic. I don't know if he wants to do a full fight camp though, but it would be nice to see them bring him onto something. That's just because they're both on the East. Both bubbles are on the East Coast, but there's probably like safety concerns and stuff like that. And the pandemic has made me a fan of All Elite Wrestling, by the way. So it's one of the things that, for when there was no sports, it's one of the things that I kind of fell into, and now I tune in on Wednesdays. So for me, my fight sports events begins Wednesday, Thursday. AEW Wednesday, Bellator Thursday, whatever's on Fight Pass Fridays, and we got UFC Saturday nights, and then if you're a combat sports fan like I am, Sunday nights is either a submission grappling thing, or like tonight's Karate Combat on their Karate Combat YouTube channel. So it definitely makes for fun watching. So, and I hope you had fun watching this. Again, drop comments below. Let me know how this mic sounds. I don't know if you can hear that. Yeah, again, my apologies for doing this so late, Sunday submission so late on Sunday. Folks are probably all off watching football or whatever you're watching, but I got a life too. I got a life and things to celebrate. So, and I'm so glad that those that watch this kept up watching with me. So next weekend, UFC 254. It might have to be a Saturday night submission. Who knows? do a little dinero there. Who knows? Because it's definitely this week. It's going to be an exciting week. I mean, that's obviously, if you're a fight fan, UFC 254 Khabib versus Gaethje. We'll have our predictions up right after weigh-ins on MMAnews.com. And thank you for watching this. Again, please like and subscribe for more video content. And I will tap out now for this Sunday's submission. See you next week.